All right, what's up, guys? It's KZ here. This is going to be my UFC 320 Ankalaev versus Pereira 2 full card breakdowns and predictions. We've got some banger fights on this card that I'm going to go ahead and get into. It's more of a top heavy card. The beginning, the prelims, they're solid. Nothing too crazy, nothing to write home about. But we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Your boy has a hat on because I need a fucking haircut. But yeah, let's go ahead and just get right into this here. First fight of the night, we got Veronica Hardy versus Brogan Walker. Veronica Hardy is a minus 600 favorite, and it's a little wide, but for good reason. I mean, Hardy's an easy call here. She's well rounded. She only lost to Eduarda Mora because she was undersized against her. Eduarda Mora was a big ass chick. Brogan Walker and her are relatively the same size, both ladies at 5'4". Brogan Walker has a slight reach advantage with 3 inches. But honestly, Brogan Walker is just going to get pieced up from range for 3 rounds from the technically superior Veronica Hardy. Hardy has good footwork, good straight punches, snappy round kicks. She's just a fluid striker overall. Brogan is flat-footed, stiff, inaccurate with her strikes. And Hardy's a decent enough grappler to not just get exploited by Brogan Walker. She's not Eduarda Mora. So she's not going to get dominated on the ground by Brogan, who's been out for 2 years. But I'm not really telling you guys anything that you don't already know. Veronica Hardy's a minus 600 favorite. Brogan Walker's not going to win here. She's 36. Veronica Hardy's 29. She's only going to get better here. So, yeah, easy pick here, Veronica Hardy. Moving right along, we got Austin Vanderford versus Ramiz Brahimaj. It says Brahimaj, but apparently it's Brahimaj. But yeah, I know I'm picking Austin Vanderford and his stupid-ass haircut. Hopefully he doesn't have that same mullet that he had in his fight against Veretennikov in this fight. But yeah, I was leaning towards Brahimaj before I watched tape on this fight. I just wasn't impressed with Vanderford's win over Veretennikov. I mean, it was an impressive win, but it's just that I don't think Veretennikov is very good. He arguably lost to Prado. And yeah, but Brahimaj, he lost in a dogfight with 37-year-old Court McGee. He got taken down multiple times. He was able to get back up every time, but he just got outworked by Court McGee, which is not a good look. He looked great against Billy Goff, but Billy Goff is kind of, a not really that good of a fighter. He's all right, but it's not like he's a future contender, future champ type of guy, Brahimaj is a strong wrestler and grappler, but Court McGee, similar to Austin Vanderford, was a middleweight moving down, so he was just the bigger man in the cage, similar to what Austin Vanderford is going to be here. Austin Vanderford, like I said, is also a middleweight moving down to 170. So yeah, Vanderford will just be the bigger, stronger guy in the cage, and he'll just be able to outmuscle Brahimaj in these positions just based on the tape that I watched. Brahimaj is going to be the smaller guy. Brahimaj really only has wins over mediocre welterweights, man, like Sasha Palatnikov, who isn't in the UFC anymore, Michael Gilmore, who was never UFC level, Mickey Gall, who is mid, and Billy Ray Goff, who also came in on short notice, and he's just also kind of meh. So yeah, Vanderford is just going to be bigger and stronger, and he just needs to watch out for that guillotine as he shoots takedowns. Because Brahimaj is a great submission specialist. He only has 1 KO, and that's over Mickey Gall. 11 wins by submission. He's never won by decision. So yeah, we're going Austin Vanderford here. I think that he most likely wrestles to a decision over Ramiz Brahimaj. If he gets caught in a submission, man, shit, that's going to be rough. There is a chance, but I just think that he's going to be defensively sound enough in the grappling that he's not going to get caught in anything stupid. But yeah, moving right along, we got Punahele Soriano versus Nikolay Veretennikov. Punahele Soriano is going to KO this man. He's going to land a left overhand or just a right hook, a right lead hook. He's just Veretennikov, man. I've just never been impressed by him. He's stiff, slow. He just doesn't look good. He's all herky jerky. I've never thought that he was good, man. I picked Prado against him, and that was a close ass fight. But yeah, Puna's much faster, explosive, more experienced. He's going to sleep Veretennikov in round 1. I really am confident in that. He's going to make it look easy. Veretennikov is a decent striker, but he's slow, man. He's slow. Soriano lost to a high-level striker in Kopylov, but, he made it into round 2. He was, putting a little bit of good work onto Kopylov, but he just got out-techniqued. Veretennikov is not Roman Kopylov, So Puna fought up at middleweight. He is used to fighting bigger dudes. Veretennikov is slightly larger, He's 6'1", got a 1.5-inch reach advantage, but Puna's used to fighting bigger guys. So he's going to come in here. He's going to knock out Nikolay Veretennikov, and he's going to make it look relatively easy. And if anything else happens, I'll be relatively shocked. But yeah, moving along, we got Patchy Mix versus Jakub Wiklacz. That Polish pronunciation. How you guys like that shit, huh? But yeah, Wiklacz has 10 wins by submission, 6 wins by decision, and 0 by KO. So, you know, and he's coming in from KSW. He's the champion at KSW in at 135. But yeah, obviously, based on what we can see from Wiklac's record here, you know, all submissions and decisions, no KOs. You know, they're bringing in a guy that Patchy Mix can get a win over. You know, his way to win fights is to out grapple and submit his opponents. So, you know, they brought a grappler in from outside of the UFC for Patchy Mix to actually get a win here. Patchy Mix looked like absolute dog shit against Mario Bautista. He looked extremely slow, flat-footed, got his ass whooped with ease. But, you know, I did try to find Jakub Wiklacz's last fight, but it was impossible. You know, he won via guillotine, but he was all busted up when he did get that win. But yeah, and if you thought Strickland loved the teep to the body, you've never seen this dude, the Wiklacz fight, man. He spams that shit. It's easily his most thrown strike. He throws the teep to the body a lot. But yeah, and he's fought the same guy, Sebastian Przybij, you know, that crazy Polish pronunciation. It's like, let me see. Let me go ahead and show you guys this crazy shit. Przybij, you know, Polish names are hard to say. But he's fought that dude 5 times, which is crazy. Przybij, Wiklacz beat that guy by decision in the first fight. Sebastian TKO'd him in the second fight. In the third fight, Wiklacz won a split decision against him. Fourth fight was a draw. And in the fifth fight, which was his last fight, Wiklacz won by sub via guillotine. So what a fucking quintilogy that those guys had. That's crazy. Fought even more times than Brandon Moreno and Davis and Figueiredo did. So yeah, Patchy can lose if he comes in thinking that he's too cool to try again, you know, like he did against Bautista. Wiklacz likes to pressure forward and search for grappling exchanges. His boxing is just to get him into grappling range so he can shoot for takedowns and, you know, attack the grappling. But yeah, I just don't know if Wiklacz is going to have the grappling success against a grappler of Patchy's caliber. You know, his striking is very rudimentary. You know, we can see that he doesn't have any KOs on his record. Yeah, he's nowhere near the speed of Mario Bautista with his footwork or his punches or kicks or anything. So yeah, man, this is a setup fight for Patchy Mix. He should get the win here. If he loses again, get this fucking guy out of the UFC, to be honest. But, you know, we'll see. I don't think that Jakub Wiklacz is going to have the success in the grappling that he's going to want to have against a guy like Patchy Mix. And Patchy Mix should be able to outstrike him, you would think. But yeah, this is a fight that I wouldn't bet on, man. I just don't trust Patchy Mix, and I don't trust the debutante coming in from KSW. You know, I made that mistake picking Robert Rucalo over William Gomez, and I'm not going to make that same mistake. I'm going to go Patchy Mix. Hopefully he got the UFC jitters out of his system in that Mario Bautista fight, learned his lesson, and, you know, he's probably going to, hopefully he looks better in this fight. So the pick is going to be Patchy Mix here, but it's a no bet for me. And then moving on, we got Macy Chiasson versus Yana Santos. You know, I see Macy Chiasson honestly winning this fight wherever the fight takes place. Yana Santos is a good kickboxer. She can wrestle a bit, but she's just going to be undersized against Macy, who's just fucking way bigger than she is. She's 5'11 versus 5'6. She's got a solid enough 3.5-inch reach advantage. And yeah, man, I mean, Macy's just going to be too big, too physical for Yana Santos. Yana Santos is coming off of a boring decision win against an old washed Miesha Tate and a win over Chelsea Chandler, who's fucking terrible. So Macy should be able to pick her apart at range and even take her down if she has to, just based on pure size and physicality alone. So the pick is going to be Macy Chiasson. I mean, honestly, I feel like she should be a bigger favorite than minus 225. It could just be because she lost her last fight to Caitlin Vieira, but, you know, Caitlin Vieira, she did lose back in the day to Yana Santos, but that was like a prime Yana Santos. You know, Caitlin Vieira wasn't as good as she is now. So yeah, I see Macy Chiasson getting the win here, most likely by decision, potentially even a TKO. But I wouldn't bet on Macy Chiasson via finish. You know, it's most likely going to be a dominant, clear decision for Macy. But yeah, moving along, we got Daniel Willy Cat Santos versus JooSang Yu. My pick here is going to be JooSang Yu, man. I was leaning towards Daniel Santos just based on his last fight. He did look like he had really good just defensive head movement in the boxing range. He had a nice peekaboo style that he was employing against Zhang Young Lee. But JooSang Yu, he's well rounded, man. It's not like he's just going to get exploited in an area of this fight. He has solid jiu-jitsu. On the regional scene, I saw that he was fighting an experienced Brazilian dude who was trying to pull guard and play the submission game. JooSang Yu established top control and was landing solid ground and pound, forcing that Brazilian guy to try and scramble. And JooSang Yu ended up taking his back and attacking his own rear naked chokes and other submissions for the remainder of round 1. He also out-grappled him in round 2 after reversing like a slam that the Brazilian guy went for. What is this Brazilian guy's name? Reinaldo Exon. So yeah, he looked good against Exon there. He did get taken down and struggled in round 3, but he defended the submission attacks well. He reversed the position and landed good ground and pound. Yu has really good footwork and cardio. But yeah, like I said, Daniel Santos looked really impressive in his last fight with his defensive head movement and, peekaboo boxing style. But his opponent, Zhang Young Lee, another fellow Korean, was flat-footed. He let himself get backed up against the cage. He didn't have the same footwork, speed, and takedown defense as JooSang Yu. Just didn't have that same fluidity of movement that JooSang Yu has. I think that he's an impressive fighter. He has good instincts, or just even grappling as JooSang Yu. So I think that JooSang Yu should. Jeez, I've said his name so many times. I feel like I said JooSang Yu like 20 times in the span of like 10 seconds. All right, but yeah, I got Yu here. I think that he's going to be able to get this done. I like his footwork. I like his skills. I like his straight punches. Daniel Santos did look good in his last fight, but I just feel like JooSang Yu is a little bit better here than his last opponent, and he should be able to get this job done over Daniel Santos. So, he's a slight underdog here, and I like his chances. But yeah, moving along, we got Farid Basharat versus Chris Gutierrez. Man, Farid Basharat is impressive, man. He has good footwork, a solid chin, good defensive movement, good counter striking, defensive, offensive grappling. He's good at avoiding leg kicks. Whatever aspect of MMA you can think of, this fucker's good at it, man. Like he's really good. But the only thing that Basharat lacks is KO power. Most of his wins either come by decision or submission. He has 6 decision wins, 6 submission wins, and only 1 KO. Chris Gutierrez, his entire game is just predicated on a leg kick and just running away the entire time. He has a decent jab and straight hand. He's good knees, but he's just very one-dimensional with his game plan, man. It's just land the leg kick, land the leg kick, land the leg kick. And if he can't consistently land leg kicks, he's fucked, man. Basharat knows this too. Basharat can grapple and wrestle offensively. Gutierrez doesn't really have good get-ups from bottom position either. So yeah, Basharat should win a grapple-heavy decision. He could even outstrike Chris Gutierrez at certain points in this fight. But if Chris Gutierrez is consistently landing that leg kick, which I don't think he will, he could get this win here, but I just don't see it, But yeah, that's it, man. I just feel like Farid Basharat, he's a minus 400 favorite, so it's not like I'm telling you guys anything special here. Yeah, the favorite's going to win. Okay, so yeah, moving along, we got Edmen Shahbazyan versus Andre Muniz. Classic striker versus grappler matchup. This one's relatively simple to break down. If Muniz can't get the takedowns, he loses. If he gets the takedowns consistently, he wins. If you know these fighters, I'm not telling you guys anything new here. But Shahbazyan showed some improvements in his defensive wrestling in his fight against Petrosky. But I don't love Shahbazyan going to decision with Petrosky after we saw Petrosky get fucked up in round 1 by Cam Roston, an underdog that I called, by the way. But I think that the improvements Shahbazyan has made should be enough to carry him through this fight with Muniz here. Muniz is a great grappler, but he isn't some kind of outstanding wrestler and takedown artist. His takedowns are body lock drags to the ground. He doesn't really shoot blast doubles or, high level wrestling single legs, which is what we've seen Shahbazyan struggle with. He does only lose to like these high level wrestlers. Derek Brunson, you might want to meme him, but, he's a high level wrestler. Jack Hermanson, better takedown artist than Andre Muniz. Nasruddin Imavov, just incredible everywhere. Anthony Hernandez, also a better grappler than Andre Muniz. The Gerald Meerschaert fight is a little bit concerning because it's not like Gerald has like the greatest takedowns in the world, but we've seen Shahbazyan look better against the likes of Andre Petrosky, who isn't great, but I think that camp preparing for Petrosky and then this camp should only compound on the effects of him being able to defend these takedowns. So I think that Shahbazyan should be able to get this done here. I'm going to go by KO or on points. But yeah, I think that the favorite should be able to pull through and just wrestle defensively enough and then just land the good shots that we know Shahbazyan's capable of landing. But yeah, moving along, we got Ateba Gautier versus Treston Vines. Instead of Ozzy Diaz getting sacrificed to Ateba Gautier, we got Treston coming in on short notice. He's coming in on like 4 days' notice. Vines has been KO'd in the first round 3 times before. He's currently on a 4-fight winning streak, but one of those wins came against a guy that was 0-7. So realistically, he's on a 3-fight winning streak because that shit doesn't count. Like if you beat a guy with no wins, like get the fuck out of my face. Like that's just can crushing. You're just padding your record. So yeah, he's taking this fight on 4 days' notice. Gautier is going to kill this fucking guy. Moving on. No, but like Gautier, he's just a dangerous fucking striker, man. He has incredible power, good knees, good punches, good kicks. He's patient. He's technical. He's not really like the Ngannou. He's just going to go out there and throw just haymakers, like how he caught Rosenstrike. He's going to be measured and he's going to just land the kill shot against Treston Vines. I just don't. You'd have to be crazy to be picking this Treston Vines guy. So I just don't see it. But yeah, moving along, we got Joe Pyfer versus Abus Magomedov. The pick here is going to be Joe Pyfer. Abus always looks good early, but I see Abus slowing down like he usually does, and Pyfer taking over in rounds 2 and 3. Abus is a slick striker, but he just doesn't have the gas tank to carry that technique throughout the fight. If Abus doesn't KO Pyfer early, which I don't think he will, Pyfer's going to take over. Like I said, Pyfer has nasty power in his hands, solid kicks, solid offensive wrestling, good submission game. But yeah, the only thing we need to worry about is Pyfer's lack of volume. He'll pressure Magomedov, but will he actually throw enough volume to get a gassed Abus out of there? A gassed Abus out of there, or will he cruise, to a low output decision like he did against Kelvin Gastelum? I think Pyfer will open up more. I like him by KO or on points here, potentially even submission. I would just go with money line on Pyfer because, you'd hate to bet on a KO and this guy just doesn't throw in rounds 2 and 3 to get him out of there. I think he will though. He respected Gastelum's durability. He didn't want to gas himself out, fucking, punching Gastelum's block head. He should open up and throw more against Magomedov, but, based on what we saw in Pyfer's last fight, we just can't trust his output. So, yeah, I would say just money line, potentially decision, just KO. It's hard to tell with Pyfer sometimes. Sometimes he goes crazy and throws a lot. Sometimes he doesn't, like against Kelvin Gastelum. But, like I said, he probably just respected Kelvin's durability, didn't want to gas himself out, punching that fat motherfucker's big head. So the pick is Pyfer. And we're going to move right along here to Josh Emmett versus Youssef Zalal. If you guys saw Youssef Zalal fight Calvin Kattar, remember round 3? Well, the whole entire fight is going to look just like that. Youssef Zalal is going to be running away for his dear fucking life the entire time. Emmett's going to be swinging and missing big, and Zalal is going to be landing pitter-pat shots, just trying to outpoint Emmett. Zalal might try shooting takedowns, but I don't really see him having much success there. Emmett's just an absolute fucking tank. And he's strong as shit. I can see the referee yelling at Zalal for timidity and refusing to engage as he's just dancing around the cage, just running for dear life. But yeah, this is going to look like the bull versus the matador. Emmett might get frustrated with the movement and try to take Zalal down. But, Zalal is a nasty grappler. He's going to be attacking submissions from the bottom, looking for reversals. And, I predict a lot of booing in this fight. And Zalal not to get a post-fight interview as well. Hopefully Emmett clips him with a bomb and gets the KO. I'd be happy to get my pick wrong if that happens, but I'm picking Youssef Zalal here. He's most likely just gonna fucking run his ass off and outpoint Emmett to a decision. It's gonna be very frustrating to watch, but I'm just telling you guys who I think is gonna win here. And he's a big favorite, minus 390. I would say that's a huge favorite, not a moderate favorite, but moving along. The pick is Youssef Zalal via running his ass off. Hopefully Josh Emmett gets that KO, but it's not something I would bet on. But yeah, now we got the fucking last 3 fights of this card, which are absolute bangers. I'm loving this card. But yeah, we got Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. My pick here is going to be Yuri Prochazka. Khalil Roundtree thrives in a slow-paced fight. Yuri's not going to give him that luxury of having a slow-paced fight here. I don't rate Khalil's wins that highly. A lackluster but dominant decision against a fat wash Jamal Hill, a washed Anthony Smith, and Chris fucking Dawkins. Like, come on, man. Chris Dawkins was coming off of 3 KO losses already. Yuri got wins over a fat wash Jamal Hill, but he did stop him. He got the KO. He got a win over Alexander Rakic, which is an interesting, impressive win, even though he was getting his leg chewed up, which could be an issue in this Khalil fight. Yuri does need to be aware of those leg kicks, not just let Khalil land those leg kicks at will, because it could compromise him as the fight goes on. But Yuri's he's a dog, man. He's going to keep coming no matter what. Khalil could amputate his leg, and Yuri's just going to keep trying to come forward on the damn stump. So yeah, and then his third most recent win was a win in a war over Glover Teixeira. But yeah, I see Yuri pressuring Khalil and breaking him here. We've seen improvements in Yuri's head movement. He has much more experience and finishing ability than Khalil. I just think that Yuri's going to pressure Khalil until he breaks him. Potentially Yuri by round 3 stoppage or just a decision. Khalil has proven that he is tough. But yeah, man, I just like Yuri's activity here. I like his activity in terms of like his aggression in the fight, like his willingness to come forward and just throw shit at you, just trying to get you out of there. But yeah, the pick is going to be Yuri, potentially by a late KO or a decision here. I would like it if this fight was 5 rounds, but it doesn't really make much sense for it to be. It's not the co-main event. It's just a fight on the main card, but it's a banger. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But the pick is going to be Yuri. Now we got Merab Dvalishvili versus Corey Sandhagen. Man, something in me wants to pick Corey Sandhagen, but I'm not going to. I just don't like how people are acting like Corey Sandhagen is just a bum that has no chance here. Like, it's not. I don't think that that's the case. He's a more dangerous matchup for Merab than O'Malley was. He's a better wrestler than O'Malley, offensively and defensively. He has a better gas tank, I would say. More high-level experience. O'Malley kind of had a tailored path to the title. Corey Sandhagen fought every killer in the division. His leg lock game could give Merab problems. His knees and issues could pose. His knees and elbows could pose issues for Merab as well. But as Merab's closing the distance, but it's just hard to convince myself that Merab isn't just going to come in here and do Merab things. Merab, he may not seem like the sharpest tool in the shed just based on him when you hear him talk, but he has a good fight IQ, man. He's most likely going to be able to stay safe against any leg entanglements that Corey tries to attempt. He's extremely strong as well. Merab does a good job with the feints and blending his striking and wrestling together. Striking to get the takedowns, shooting takedowns to open up his striking. Merab's tenacious as fuck, and he won't quit unless he gets put out. So, Corey's going to have to get the finish here. I can see Corey having success early and even winning rounds, but Merab should wear him down as the fight goes on. But if Corey doesn't slow down, man, he's live to win. Sandhagen is more battle-tested than O'Malley, but fuck, man. Merab is a different animal. Something inside me feels like Sandhagen has the tools to get it done, but I don't know if that's just delusion or just cope or what, but I'm picking Merab to do what Merab always does. Pressure, and just break Corey down. Corey could look good early, just land good shots on Merab, be on his bike, not let Merab close the distance, just put volume out there in his face. But man, we saw with Corey against Umar, he was just waiting too much, man. He was waiting too much. If he wants to get this win over Merab, he has to throw a lot of strikes. He needs to throw a lot out there, a lot of strikes up the middle, front kicks up the middle, knees, maybe not the flying knee because that'll just give a takedown, but uppercuts as well. Corey just needs to be active in this fight. He can't just be sitting there waiting for Merab to try and just pressure the fuck out of him and engage. But the pick is going to be Merab here. But Corey Sandhagen is live to win. I don't like that everybody's just completely counting him out here. If you're going to pick O'Malley to get the KO over Merab, I think that Corey Sandhagen also has that same ability as O'Malley to get the KO here. But most likely it's not going to happen. We're going to see Merab just, live up to the name of the machine and break Corey down as the fight goes late. But yeah, moving right along, we got the main event, Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira 2. Dear God, I want fucking Alex Pereira to win, but we've been watching MMA long enough to know that it does not matter who you want to win. It matters who has the skills to get the job done. And, Magomed Ankalaev, everybody wanted to pretend that he's just going to be out there wrestling Pereira, but he's an elite striker in his own right, man. We saw that throughout his entire career and in the first Alex fight. Ankalaev has good hands, good boxing, good defensive movement. He's got a good gas tank, good footwork, good strike defense. He doesn't really make many mistakes on the feet. And he's got great kickboxing skills himself just to match Pereira. Pereira couldn't get the leg kicks working, or quite frankly, anything working against Ankalaev. He wasn't letting that jab go. He wasn't letting that left hook go. And, he struggles against southpaws. We saw Ankalaev rock Pereira at times in that first fight. There wasn't really a point where Pereira hurt Ankalaev. Pereira's 38 going into this fight, and Magomed is 33. He's in it as absolute prime. How much better can Pereira look from his last fight? Yeah, he's going to make changes to maybe the game plan. He's probably going to try to be more aggressive. But, people say, oh, he's taking it seriously now. Yeah, well, so is Ankalaev. He's been taking it seriously the whole fucking time. Ankalaev is measured on the feet. Like I said, he doesn't make mistakes. The few shots he did take in the first fight with Alex, he took them well. And Ankalaev would be undefeated in MMA if it wasn't for the fluke against Paul Craig, you know what I mean? And him getting submitted in the last seconds of the fight. So I'm going Ank here. His skills are undeniable. He could offensively wrestle and not even just get the takedowns, but just hold Pereira up against the cage like he did in the first fight. But do I hope Chama, Alex Pereira lands the left hook on Ankalaev's fucking beak and gets him out of there? Yes. Am I picking it? No. I'm picking who I think will win, not who I hope is going to win. It's not like Ankalaev is going to get worse here into this fight. And how much better can Pereira look, Will it be enough to win? I don't think so, unfortunately. So that's my picks. That's my breakdown. Here are my picks just on the screen here. Just to recap, we got Hardy going by her via decision. Vanderford decision. Soriano KO, round 1. Patchy mix decision. Macy Chiasson decision. JooSang Yu. I picked him by KO in round 2, but potentially he could get it done by decision. We got Farid Basharat decision, Edmen Shahbazyan decision, Ateba Gautier KO round 1, Joe Pyfer KO round 2. That is if he opens up and actually lets his strikes go. Yusuf Zalal decision. He's going to run away the entire time, and everybody's going to be booing him. I got Yuri Prohashka KO TKO round 3, Merab Dvalishvili by decision, and Ankalaev by another decision here. Potentially, he could even get the KO. He hurt Poatan in that first fight. Alex Pereira might be coming in more aggressive this time. That might open him up to more counters from Ankalaev. And yeah, man, Ankalaev is an elite striker too. It's not like Ankalaev is just going to be coming out here trying to fucking hug him the whole time. There was that narrative that, he was just hugging Pereira up against the fence the entire time, but that's not the case. He was striking with him for a majority of that fight. He did hug him against the cage heavy in round 4. As well as a bit in round 5, but most of the success that Ankalaev had was on the feet, outstriking Pereira. It was a close fight, a lot closer than I think I remember it watching the first time, because I just rewatched it today. But yeah, man, I'm going Ank. Unfortunately, I do wish that I could convince myself that Pereira is going to win, but it would just be a hope pick at that point. You know what I mean? So somebody in my last video asked me if I could go ahead and put a couple of parlays together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's see what we can look at via odds, see if we can get some value, something good together. I'm going to use my sport book, which is Dorado Bet. Let me go ahead and get this pulled up for you guys. Let's see what we can cook up. Let's see. Probably should have done this before the video, but it is what it is. Let's see. Oh yeah, my UFC Perth card, I hit a parlay. We got Brando Perisic, Colby Thickness, Cameron Roston, Tom Nolan. I had Louis Sutherland in there too, but that fight got canceled. We got $5, turned it into 60. Hell motherfucking yeah. So moving on, let's go ahead and get to this parlay section. Let me go ahead and pause this for a bit. All right. Good God, these odds on Veronica Hardy are fucking gross. -900. So it's just what is Her to win by decision, minus 234. I mean, I just wouldn't even touch this fight, man. It's just not worth it. You know, just the odds are just unbettable. We have Punahele Soriano by KO, plus 128. That's how I think he gets it done. KO on points, minus 250. So you might as well just play the money line at minus 286. Punahele by Soriano, just round one, plus 260. I do like that. We got JooSang, a slight dog here. But I would say if you just want to put the three main card picks together, Yuri, Merab, Ankalaev, boring but safe, plus 158. Man. Joe Pyfer by KO, plus 136. If you want to go Yuri by KO, as well as Pyfer by KO, that might be a little bit, that might be a nice two leg there. Plus 406. So that's pretty solid. Let's see. Yeah, man, there's just, it's, you gotta dig a little deep to find value on this card, you know. It's gonna be a lot of prop bets. We got some wide money lines. You know, JooSang by KO, what is that looking like? Plus 375. That's pretty damn solid. But yeah, if you just want to go for the first two fights, leave Veronica Hardy out of there. We got Puna by KO. My shit's in Spanish because your boy's in Nicaragua, so sorry. But we got Puna by KO. And then Vanderford, maybe just straight money line, plus 204. Yeah, man, I'm not an expert parlay builder, so I do apologize. But that's kind of what I'm liking here. I'm probably gonna make a separate stream just addressing all these parlays. I like to do parlay building streams just so I can talk to the chat and we can chop it up about what we're thinking. I can go back and forth with the chat and about the picks and the parlays and the props, all that good stuff. But yeah, guys, that is the UFC 320 preview, breakdowns, picks, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this card. It's an absolute banger. Your boy went 10-12 last week at UFC Perth, or 10 out of 12, I should say. So hopefully we're able to continue that same momentum here on UFC 320, get a solid pick record here, and keep the momentum moving forward. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you watched all the way until the end, you're the fucking man. But yeah, leave a like for me, subscribe, all that good stuff. But yeah, peace out, bros. Thanks for watching.